The waves still whispered the same song, but something in the air had changed. After everything Miguel and I had been through, I thought we had found our rhythm again. Days in Palawan felt warm and familiar. The laughter of the market, the scent of grilled fish in the afternoons, the sunsets that painted the water gold. But lately, I had begun to notice little things. A glance that lingered too long, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, a silence where there used to be words. I didn't know it then, but those small moments were leading me to a truth I wasn't ready to face. The morning light in Palawan has a way of touching everything like it's in love. It slips through the bamboo blinds in my small seaside home, paints the floor with soft gold, and makes the air feel almost tender. I was still half asleep when the scent of coffee drifted into the bedroom. That was always Miguel's ritual. He claimed he couldn't think straight without making coffee first thing, as if the warmth in his cup was the key to starting the day right. I walked into the kitchen barefoot, the cool tiles greeting my toes. There he was, back to me, humming something low and familiar, wearing that old white shirt I loved, the one that had gone thin at the shoulders from too many washes. "Morning, Princessa," he said, glancing over his shoulder with a quick smile. His voice was warm, but I don't know. Something in the way his eyes didn't hold mine felt different. It was like the smile was there, but the part of him that meant it was somewhere else. I brushed the thought away. Not every morning had to be perfect. We talked about the tide, the weather, the neighbor's dog that kept sneaking into our garden. Simple, safe topics. I didn't notice until later that he never asked me how I'd slept. The day unfolded like the ones we'd promised ourselves when I first moved here for good. The sun was warm, but not cruel. The air salty and sweet. The waves slow and lazy. Miguel had the day off from the resort, so we decided to walk to the little fishing pier at the edge of town. He made me laugh. He always did. Some joke about the fisherman who swore he'd seen a mermaid last week and how he'd charge tourists for sightings if he could. Then, in the middle of telling me about a new cafe by the marina, he slipped. "We had the most amazing mango tart," he said, grinning like a boy remembering his first crush. "We?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, I went there, with some friends from work." His hand went to the back of his neck, rubbing like he was smoothing the moment over. He moved on quickly, but my mind stayed on that "we" for the rest of the afternoon. It was nothing, I told myself. Just a word. People mix up words all the time. But that night, lying in bed, I replayed it in my head. His face when he corrected himself, the way his tone softened when he first said it. I hadn't spoken to Mama in a few days, so I called her while Miguel was out getting groceries. She was sitting by the kitchen window in Moscow, the winter light pale and sharp behind her. Even through the screen, I could see how the years had softened her but not dimmed her. "My Alina," she said, her voice warm. "You look tired." "I'm fine, Mama," I smiled. She tilted her head, the way she always did when she was deciding whether to believe me. "Fine? You don't sound fine. How is Miguel? How is your heart?" I laughed lightly, trying to hide the small knot inside me. "Everything is okay. Life is beautiful here." "Beautiful is not the same as happy," she said softly. I froze for a second. She had always been able to read me, even from thousands of kilometers away. "I'm happy," I said again, but my voice sounded smaller than I intended. She gave me a look that said she didn't believe me, but she let it go. Instead, she told me about her garden, about the cat that kept sleeping on her balcony, about the first snow. When we hung up, the apartment felt heavier, and I realized that lately, the only time I felt completely steady was when I was talking to her. It was late afternoon when the first shadow touched my peace. The sun had begun its slow dive toward the horizon, and Miguel came home with the sea breeze still clinging to him. I was folding laundry by the open window, the sound of waves filling the room. He bent to kiss my cheek, and that's when I noticed it. The faintest trace of perfume, sharp and floral, not the warm sandalwood he usually wore, and not mine. "You smell different," I said lightly, more curious than suspicious. "Oh, maybe from the shop. They were giving out samples." His answer came quickly, almost too quickly, before he disappeared into the shower. I stood there with a folded shirt in my hands, listening to the water run. It was nothing, I told myself. just a detail, but it joined the small knot in my chest, the one that had been growing since that "we" at the pier. Days in Palawan have a way of moving forward, no matter what thoughts you carry. Fishermen still call out to each other in the early light, children still chase each other barefoot on the beach, and the tide still breathes in and out like it has for centuries. Miguel and I still shared coffee in the mornings, still talked about the neighbors' gossip, still strolled through the market on Saturdays. But I found myself paying more attention to the pauses, the moments when his eyes drifted elsewhere mid-conversation, or when his phone lit up and he tilted it away before unlocking it. And yet, the island wrapped me in beauty. The mango trees bowed heavy with fruit, and the air at sunset turned the world gold. Sometimes I convinced myself that beauty was enough. One Sunday, Miguel suggested lunch by the marina. The cafe he'd once mentioned, the one with the mango tart, had just reopened. We sat by the water, the scent of grilled fish mingling with the salt air. A waitress brought our order, and as she set it down, I caught a glance from another table. A woman, foreign, maybe Eastern European, watching Miguel with a soft familiarity. He didn't notice her, or maybe he pretended not to. She smiled faintly before looking away, and the moment passed like a wave breaking quietly on the shore. But I felt it. The unspoken recognition between strangers who aren't truly strangers. That night, I called Mama. She was bundled in her wool sweater, the snow visible through her kitchen window in Moscow. "My Alina," she said, "you sound far away tonight." I told her about the market, about the marina, about the stars over the water. I didn't tell her about the perfume or the woman's glance, but she told me a story about my father years ago and a time she'd chosen to ignore the signs. "We think love means closing our eyes," she said, "but sometimes love means opening them, even if it hurts." Her words sat heavy in me, but I thanked her and promised I was fine. She didn't believe me. She never did when I lied. It happened by accident. Miguel left his phone on the counter while he stepped out to greet a neighbor. A message flashed across the screen. A photo of the woman from the marina standing on a pier at sunset. The caption was in Ukrainian. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. The image burned itself into my mind before he came back inside. That evening, we ate in near silence. The grilled fish was perfect, the rice warm and soft, but every bite felt heavy. Miguel talked about the resort's plans for expansion, about the tourist season starting soon. I nodded, smiled, even laughed when appropriate, but inside, I was listening for the truth beneath his words and hearing nothing but echoes. The sunset outside our window was breathtaking, streaked with rose and gold. We didn't go out to watch it together. I waited until morning, until the light was soft and there were no shadows to hide in. "Miguel," I began, my voice steady. "Who is she?" His fork froze halfway to his mouth. He didn't ask who I meant. He set it down, leaned back, and let out a long breath. "She's someone I met when you went back to Russia. It shouldn't have happened." The words were heavy, but calm, as if he'd rehearsed them. He told me about long shifts at the resort, about feeling lonely, about how she reminded him of something he couldn't name. I listened. I didn't cry. The tears had already been building for weeks. I was too tired to let them out now. I walked alone along the shore that night, the moonlight silvering the waves. Somewhere in the darkness, the fishermen's boats bobbed gently, their lanterns swaying. I thought of Mama, of her hands, worn but gentle, of her voice warning me not to close my eyes. And I thought of myself, the girl who had left Moscow to chase the light here, only to find shadows waiting. In the morning, I told Miguel I forgave him, not because what he did was small. It wasn't. But because carrying anger felt heavier than letting it go. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't for him. It was for me, so I could walk forward without his choices tied to my ankles. He cried. I didn't. Miguel moved out quietly, and I stayed. The sea was still mine, the morning still golden, the mango trees still bowing under their sweet weight. I began to take long walks at dawn, barefoot in the cool sand, the horizon stretching wide before me. I was single, yes, but I was whole. And in the slow rhythm of the waves, I began to hear my own heart again,